Caught my 22F boyfriend, 28M, of 7 months with relation on his phone and hiding drug usage. Am I stupid for staying? Advice. Hi all. I am new to Reddit, so I apologize for any formatting issues and for the incredibly long post. TLDR will be listed below. Fake names will be used for sake of privacy. I, 22F, have been dating my boyfriend, George, 28M, for 7 months. Everything was great at first. I was showered with love and favors, including but not limited to receiving flowers weekly, frequent long massages, grand gestures like decorating our hotel room with rose petals and balloons before asking me to be his girlfriend, and constantly receiving attention. These things have not gone away entirely, but his efforts have slightly decreased. Warning signs started pretty early, as when we were only about 2 weeks into dating, George popped off on me in the middle of a crowded restaurant in front of our friends and co-workers after a male co-worker invited the both of us over to his place along with 6 others. This co-worker is particularly attractive, gaining the eyes of many women that work with him, but I have never given him any special attention. We had further issues about 2 weeks later when George shouted at me during work hours in front of several employees regarding his desire for me to have absolutely no contact with our attractive male coworker. Since then we have had many scuffles revolving around his insecurity towards me interacting with other men, and when George is upset he frequently turns to throwing out demeaning remarks. He has frequently labeled me as average and replaceable in tangents, claiming he could find a good girl from somewhere like Stanford to be with. The specific details of this statement stress me out because he must have someone in mind, right? After he cools down, he will regret everything he said prior and shower me with praise and compliments, insisting that he views me as a catch and that he could never find a girl that held up to his high standards until he met me. His demeaning disrespect has continued from about 1 to 1.5 months into dating until now, and is especially bad when he is drinking. I had also found out that he was a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, and 3 months sober at the time. He was still drinking daily but not doing drugs. About 1 month into our relationship, after his roommate spilled the beans during a random conversation, George absolutely lost his mind and dragged his roommate through the mud, claiming he wasn't intending on me to ever find out about his past. I understand wanting to keep some things private, but isn't this something that should be discussed before roping someone into a relationship? 2 days after I found out about his addiction, he relapsed. He relapsed again 1 month later and then again twice in a month after that, but hid it from me until he relapsed a 5th time 3 months after I discovered his past addiction and I found him on the brink of overdosing. He came clean about the first time he relapsed but hid the other 3 from me. I told him in order for us to stay together, he had to join a rehab program for both the drugs and alcohol. He did eventually go through with an outpatient rehab program, but has been missing his meetings for the past 3 to 4 weeks. He recently relapsed again, first 2 weeks ago, then again back-to-back 2 and 3 days ago. I could tell he was on something all 3 of those times and begged him to come clean about his usage. George convinced me that I was being crazy and making the whole situation up. This came to a head 2 days ago when I caught him coked out of his mind and only came clean when I ended the relationship, as I didn't want to be with someone who couldn't be accountable and refused to work towards getting better. He only came clean about the 3 times he had used within the last 2 weeks. After he confessed, I told him I wanted to go through his phone and delete his dealers off of it. This is where many more issues arose. For context, we had a conversation pretty early on about our boundaries in the relationship. We labeled what we viewed as cheating and disrespectful. I agreed to a handful of things that I have adhered to, and one thing we both agreed to avoid entirely was pornography. We both agreed it was cheating. Our definition of cheating is getting off to another person other than your partner. We also agreed that having nudes of past partners was cheating and agreed to these terms. Since then, he has fabricated dozens of stories and events claiming to show off his dedication to these agreements, taking every opportunity he could to make it know that he is in fact better than any other guy could ever find. Now on to the problems that arose 2 days ago. Upon opening his phone, I was greeted by a screenshot of a young girl giving head to another man. I questioned him on his, and he was left speechless. This led me to go through his entire phone, finding hundreds of saved videos within his files, screenshots, an extensive browser history, and a hidden folder full of nudes from ex-partners. A handful of the timestamps on his browser history even lined up with times we were on the phone with one another. He immediately started minimizing the situation and accusing me of overreacting, as every single man would do the same thing. I feel completely betrayed, blindsided, and disrespected. It would be one thing if we hadn't discussed our boundaries, but knowing he willingly chose to disrespect me time and time again, all while fabricating stories to appear like a saint, is so sickening to me. I feel sick to my stomach and haven't even eaten since this all went down. Am I wrong to feel betrayed? He knew that it would hurt me and even went to great lengths to hide this from me. I don't feel like we can ever recover from this. I love him so much and have tried so hard to help him out of the hole he's dug himself, but this one feels a little too deep. He now swears he wants to change and is begging for another chance. Am I stupid to stay? Any and all advice is appreciated. I just feel so lost. Thank you for sticking with me through this very long story. Extra context. He is a very sweet guy other than the flaws I have mentioned here, taking great care in bonding with my family, buying flowers or writing love letters weekly, showing interest in my likes and hobbies, and not overindulging in nightlife, which is extremely common for the young men of my area. I worry that in leaving I could abandon a man who cares very deeply about me and our relationship, and possibly be unable to find a future partner who can offer the things that he can. Am I leaving a man with 90% of what I want to find a man who holds the missing 10%, or am I simply acting irrational and blinded by love? TLDR, boyfriend of 7 months bailing on drug and alcohol rehab meetings, relapsed multiple times and lied about it up until I ended the relationship. After extensive communication and agreeing that we view pornography and nudes of exes as cheating, I found hidden folders full of nudes of exes, hundreds of X-rated videos saved in his camera roll and files, and an extensive browsing history, some videos even being watched while we were on the phone with one another. Am I stupid for staying?